Hello, class. This is my counseling sessions 1 and session 2. First of all, John is my client. He's been drinking and smoking pot since he was in college. While he was there, he received 3-day suspension from school for being intoxicated at a school function. He was primarily a weekend user, but sometimes he smoked pot on lunch break at work. Since getting the job that he has now, 3 years ago, he drinks to the point of having blackouts occasionally, more frequently late than before. John reports trying to get it under control, but of late he's not been able to stop, and he knows that he should. His job is at risk, and his employer has required him to check into a treatment center, substance abuse rehab, if he wants to keep his job. He's also depressed. This is Managing Depressive Symptoms, Session 1. Hi, John. Come on in.
Hello. Hi, counselor.
Have a seat.
Okay, thanks.
So, the group counselor mentioned that on the list you made in group about how you think about yourself, that you noted you're not measuring up to others, not able to make it at work, people don't want to be your friends, and that you can't do anything right. I think that those kinds of issues would feed into both your drinking, smoking pot, and your feeling depressed.
Yeah, I think about these things all the time now. I'm pretty down. The only thing that makes me feel better is drinking and smoking pot, and my wife's getting tired of it.
So it sounds like two issues there. First, feeling really down and using alcohol and pot to deal with it. And second, that your wife is going to be really angry at you and may leave you.
Yeah, well, I'm here, so, I guess it speaks with my job. I can see that maybe I was drinking and smoking pot more than I should, but I don't know that I need to be in this kind of program. I have had problems. I've had enough problems without having to deal with this.
So this is aggravating for you, having to be in a program for your alcohol and pot use.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think I could quit on my own.
So the first two things that come to mind are that you don't know how to manage things with your wife. And when you think about spending time here dealing with all of these things, you start to worry about losing your job.
Well, I don't think I can do any of it.
John, let's take things one step at a time. You've mentioned feeling down and how that's a load for you. You also say your wife's going to be angry at you and that you're really frustrated with being in the program. Where would you like to start?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I guess my wife would be the best place to start.
Okay. In formulating a change approach, the counselor will assess John's ways of thinking are a significant barrier to his ability to change, and therefore decides to approach John from a cognitive, change thinking perspective. As a precursor to beginning to intervene, the counselor does several things. First, she learns more about John's depressive symptoms, examining what being down means to John, how severe the symptoms are in terms of limiting John's life and fostering his drugs and alcohol use, and how long he's felt that way. 2, she explores John's hopeless and helpless thinking, common features of depression, which, if unaddressed, can become significant barriers to change. Number 3, the counselor recognizes that John needs to appreciate how much he increased his alcohol and drug use as a primary coping mechanism to handle the loss of his relationship with his girlfriend. John also needs to review the relationship and what role his alcohol and drug use played in landing him in treatment. Number 4, the counselor purposefully takes a collaborative, empathetic, empathic, and supportive stance with John, as opposed to a more authoritarian, direct stance. This tends to diffuse some of John's anger about his predicament and the people who are trying to help him. An example of how the counselor achieves this is in giving John choices rather than suggestions. She does some education with John about the process of changing behavior behavior by changing his thinking. The counselor has prepared an informational sheet entitled Changing Who We Are by Changing How We Think and offers John a copy to read. 6. Eventually, the counselor would like John to clarify the relative values of alcohol and drugs, work success, and relationship satisfaction in his life and make some hard choices as to what will satisfy his core needs in the long run. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, well, I guess my wife.
Tell me more about your concerns about talking to your wife about this.
Well, she's always on me about quitting my job and going back to school, wants me to become a doctor. This is going to ruin everything, you know. She's going to be furious and not speak to me anymore.
That sounds like you think that the situation is hopeless and that your wife won't be able to understand what you want. Has she ever expressed concern about your youth?
Yeah, well, she's going to be really pissed. Back in high school, when I got suspended, she said she didn't want to be with me, and I'd end up like drunk like my grandfather. She broke up with me for a whole month.
I'd like to talk with you about your expectations about how this situation will go with your wife. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure, why not? That sounds pretty good, yeah. It'd be okay talking about that, sure.
Okay. So, notice how the counselor is working with the depression and substance abuse issues at the same time, gathering information as she goes along. This is one of the things that are special about counseling clients with depressive symptoms, that you must deal with both issues simultaneously. Tell me how she has responded to other situations like this.
Well, there was a couple times in high school when I got in trouble and she didn't handle it very well. She was mad and disappointed with me.
If you think that this situation is as bad, how do you think she will react this time?
Well, she always wanted me to go to college to be a doctor. And she's going to be upset, very disappointed and angry.
Even though you got drunk and in trouble in high school, it sounds like she got over it because she married you.
Well, yeah, I guess she got over it. The time passed and things moved on.
Did you get over it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. It's going to be unpleasant, but I guess it might not be as bad as I thought.
So what do you think about telling her?
Well, I think you probably should call her. Yeah, I think you should call her probably. And,
Well, it sounds like you're ready to move on to the second problem. What's your understanding of why you were referred to this program?
well, I hadn't thought too much about that, but imagine I had to participate in whatever programs are part of this so that it looks meaningful to somebody at work, and I have to appear like I'm in recovery or interested in it on the road, meaning I'm not going to drink or use pot anymore.
So somehow the people who wanted you to be here have to be reasonably sure you're not going to end up in the same situation that got you here.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the situation that led you to be here.
You want me to tell you what was going on before? Well, after I got this job, I started drinking some, smoking, trying some other stuff now and then. It didn't interfere with work, but somehow something different happened this year, and something changed. You know, my dog died at the beginning of the year. I was devastated. And then I had to take time off for an injury. I was having trouble sleeping and concentrating. I felt lost, and I missed my pal. I didn't want to spend time with my friends because I started drinking and smoking pot more than I used to, and I didn't want much. They didn't want to have much to do with me either. It got harder and harder, and I kept thinking, this is futile. I should just quit. You know, I'll never make it. It just seemed like stuff was getting worse and worse.
So you were having trouble concentrating, sleeping, missing your dog. You stopped spending time with your friends, started using more, drinking more, and feeling like everything was hopeless.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So it would be helpful for us to find ways for you to feel more hopeful, be able to concentrate on your work, spend more time with your wife and friends, and stop using. Is that right?
Yes, I would, and I'm worried she'll not understand and leave, and that's what really hurts me.
Did your wife drink with you?
Yeah, I don't know. She drank too, and we drink together, but she wouldn't smoke or do drugs with me. And her brother got in a car accident when he was high on drugs. She just told me she wants me to stop drinking and using.
And that's the hopelessness I heard you talking about here and in group, the sense that you won't be able to do it. There's nothing that will work for you.
Well, that's it. I have to, but
So there's both nothing is going to work for you and you're not able to make it work, right?
Yep, right.
Managing depressive symptoms. When John came into the session, he did not trust the counselor to be helpful. When she focused on listening to John and understanding what was important from John's perspective, he started to feel less anxious and began to trust her. He's still skeptical about whether this will be helpful to him, but he's willing to see where this goes. John's anxiety and ambivalence about the therapeutic relationship is a natural process. This is a good time for the counselor to educate him about depression and its symptoms, similar to the way substance abuse counselors educate clients about substance use disorders and treatment. The counselor is also interested in John's attribution style, which seems to perpetuate his feelings of helplessness. Attribution style refers to how people qualify or ascribe meaning of events in terms of their mindset. Depressed people tend to attribute the fact that bad things happen to them because of some personal flaw or a deficiency. They tend to look for negative experiences in their world and expect negative things to happen in the future. The outlook justifies basic depressive feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, and being trapped. The counselor would like John to begin to challenge the thinking, beliefs, and perceptions that are filtered through this negativity. I wonder if I can tell you a little bit about the relationship between thoughts and feelings of hopelessness, trouble concentrating, sleeping, and difficulties with relationships and your alcohol and drug use.
Okay.
I've noticed that you seem to think that all of this trouble is because you can't do anything right.
Yeah, it's my fault. I screwed up things. I don't know what I did, but it's my fault with my wife, and she might leave me and I might lose my job.
So that sounds pretty familiar to you. Another thing I heard you say is that no one's going to want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
And the third thing is that it doesn't seem to matter what the situation is. This is always going to be a problem. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. It does happen. It keeps happening. Are you saying some of this is negative thinking is tied with my drug use?
Maybe. These ways of thinking can cause unpleasant feelings like helplessness, sadness, and anger, and lead to trouble sleeping, drinking, smoking pot, and trouble in your relationships, and make drinking and smoking pot more attractive. If we look at what you're thinking and see if there are some changes you can make in your perception, then we can change how you feel and your choices about what you do about it. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Are you willing to try it out?
Yeah, okay.
The counselor seeks to obtain commitment from John to proceed with this approach. She doesn't just assume that he's ready or willing to proceed. People with depression will often not have energy to take on tasks that require them to change. It's useful to first elicit their agreement to take on the task. Then proceed with small steps that have a high potential for success and don't feel overwhelming. How to assess for negative self-talk and offer alternative responses. The goal of this technique is to increase the client's objectivity about their thoughts, to demonstrate the connection between negative self-talk, unpleasant emotions, and unproductive behavior, and to differentiate between unrealistic and realistic meanings of events. When using this technique, the focus is on a specific thought, even though others will arise. One variation on this is to have the client identify situations such as problems at work and use that in the following session. The steps are: 1. Identify the situation that makes the client feel uncomfortable. 2. For each uncomfortable situation, make a list of the uncomfortable feelings the client experienced after the situation. 3. Ask the client to identify the first thought that comes to mind when he thinks of the uncomfortable situation and has the negative feelings. Proceed to identify other thoughts or cognitions that often arise with this situation and feelings. It's not uncommon that a theme can be elicited from the thoughts. 4. Identify how the thoughts or theme limits the client's options in life. 5. Help the client identify different ways of thinking about the situation and feelings that can lead to better options. Once the list of reasonable responses is completed, summarize it, go back through the list of feelings generated for that situation in step 2, and discuss the decrease in intensity of each feeling for the new list of reasonable responses, compared with the feelings related to the old negative thoughts. And 7, plan for continuing practice of this new skill. John, what I'd like to do now is have you try out some real-world examples of how you think about things and how you feel about those things. I'd like you to start paying attention to these thoughts when you're not here, so when you come back, we can talk about them.
Okay, I can pay attention to how I'm thinking when different things happen.
Yes, write down 1 or 2 things that came up throughout the day that affected you.
Yeah, I can do that.
Terrific. I'll see you on Friday, and we can talk about how to identify negative self-talk and changes.
Okay.
The counselor takes a few minutes at the end of the session to evaluate her work with John and to make a note in John's chart about goals that were addressed. She's pleased with the efforts they've made to establish a working relationship and with John's willingness to pursue examining the relationship between his thoughts and his behavior. Session 2. Well, John, come on
Hey,
in.
how you doing, Doctor?
Have a seat. The counselor begins session 2. 1. Check John's homework, particularly recording his thoughts about everyday experiences and the connection between his thoughts and his feelings. Affirm John's effort, specific to his progress and or homework, thereby building his self-efficacy. Ask John about his goals for the session and collaborate to make the goals a part of the counseling session. Continue to help John find the connections between his thoughts and his behavior. John does the homework. He finds that in some areas he actually does feel that he does okay. He finds that he enjoys this assignment because it's a way to vent. However, he writes down his thoughts but does not relate them to how he feels. He continues to be angry about being in treatment. At the beginning of the session, John describes various situations that have occurred during the week and his related thoughts. So, John, in the first situation, you went into the room and everyone was watching a show you were not interested in, and they were talking to each other, but not to you. So your thought was that nobody wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, those brain-dead people weren't interested in talking to me, and I'm not interested in talking to them anyway.
You sound kind of angry about that.
Yeah, I was pissed.
Tell me more about being angry.
Yeah, well, I was pissed. I felt alone.
So it started out with these people don't want to talk to me, and you felt angry and moaned, and it sounds like kind of sad. And the thought that followed was, and I don't want to talk to them either.
Yep.
What other negative thoughts did you have about the situation?
They didn't talk to me because they don't like me.
So you were thinking that they're not talking to you because they don't like you. What else?
This is my fault because maybe I don't like them either, and maybe they don't think I'm worth talking to.
You think maybe you're sending out signals that you don't want to talk to them?
Well, maybe. I guess I'm not very nice to them.
So you interact with people in a way that holds them at a distance, keeps them apart from you.
Yeah, maybe so.
Okay, so the negative thoughts that you identified about this situation are, they don't want to talk to me, they think I'm not worth their time, and then there is the thought, they don't like me, and I'm not very nice to them. Is there anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of.
The counselor is helping the client think of alternative responses. Okay, this was a really good example. Before you entered the program, control of those thoughts and feelings, what would you have done?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd have left and I'd gone off and smoked a joint.
I'll bet you there have been a few times in there that you wish you could have gone off to smoke a joint.
Yeah, especially after the group meetings.
I'm glad you brought this up because now we can talk about other ways to respond to the situation. Let's start with your first thought. They don't want to talk to me. What are some other possible responses to the situation?
Maybe they didn't want to talk to me because they're watching TV.
Good. Maybe they're doing something else. They're watching TV. What other reasonable responses are there?
Maybe if I'd have talked to them first, maybe they'd have talked to me.
Yes. Maybe if you made the first move, they would talk to you. That would give them permission to talk to you.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you're saying they aren't calling me because they don't think I want to talk to them.
Is that a possibility? Often, people with substance abuse problems send out stay away from me messages. You must be seeing others in here doing that.
Yeah, that's true. I guess so.
So far, in response to the negative thought, they don't want to talk to me, we have the following reasonable responses. They're watching TV. If I talk to them first, they might talk to me. And they might not be talking to me because they think I don't want to talk to them. Can you think of any other possible alternatives to this negative thought?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, let me ask you this. When you had the thought, they don't want to talk to me, you felt worthless, angry, lonely, and sad. Thinking about the first reasonable response, they are watching TV, how do you feel?
Yeah, I don't think my feelings would still be hurt.
So your feelings would still be hurt. Do you feel worthless?
No, I'm kind of lonely.
Okay, so hurt and lonely. That sounds less distressing than angry, worthless, lonely, and sad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's look at the next reasonable response. If I talk to them first, they might talk to me. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know if it's true, but if they really would talk to me, but I feel like it's possible, yeah.
How does it compare to feeling worthless, angry, lonely, and sad when you think they don't want to talk to me?
Yeah, it feels better. It's like maybe if I did something different, but I don't know that it would really work.
Well, if you want to test it out, you can. If you'd like to talk about it more next time, then we can do that. Do you think you understand how this works?
Yeah, let me see. I think when I think something about myself is really, really negative, I should think about whether that makes sense, and maybe I can do something that's not all the time. Sometimes I feel so bad I don't think I can do that, but when I'm feeling a little better, I can.
If you want to, we can talk about other things that you can try when you feel so bad you have trouble doing this. I'll see you on Monday, but in the meantime, how do you feel about working on coming up with alternative thoughts when situations come up?
Well, not all the time, but I can do it. A couple of times I can do it. I can do that.
Okay, this was a good session. Thank you, John.
All right, bye. Thanks,
Summarizing, the work between John and his counselor in these two sessions has focused on managing negative thoughts and the relationship of the negative thoughts to his alcohol and drug use and his depressive symptoms. The counselor is aware that she was negligent in getting John's agreement on the goals for the work in session 2 before initiating the work. The treatment goals have been to reduce the client's experience of negative thoughts about himself, his environment, and his future, thereby decreasing his experience of hopelessness and helplessness. Changing his thoughts and feelings about negative events increases his options for healthier responses to future events. This process needs to be repeated numerous times to help John learn to use these skills independently. This thought-oriented treatment with John is not the ultimate goal in his treatment. It is the initial step in a process of change that will include abstinence from alcohol and marijuana, reduction of symptoms of depression, improved ability to communicate with others, and an increase in self-confidence, competence, and self-esteem. Thank you for watching my video.